be way below freezing. So it would be negative 15, 18, I hear even less over here. We don't exactly know right now, I don't know. But with it, we manage a stable living situation. So it's an average of 12, 13, 14, I don't know exactly. 14.2 degrees.
Is the average Earth temperature, and now you have to add the 0.85.
And so as we're adding more of those gases which can easily trap heat, which are CO2 is our main one, but then methane is the strongest one per molecule that can trap the most heat. That'll keep it rising more and more.
Can I suggest something? Like, we only have 10 minutes left, and it's all very interesting, but maybe there are still other issues to discuss. Like, Aline next to me has also a question.
Yes, I think we all can agree that climate change is a problem, actually. And I just wanted to ask you if you could share with us one of your inspiring stories on the road. What was one of the best moments that gave you hope and inspired you on the road? And what was one of the alternatives you saw and you really believe in and that can work in the future and that can people use globally? Just to switch the discussion to another level.
I have to think of it, but
I think one of the most inspiring things is, and what I would have not expected while I was preparing the tour. I was part of the team who have conceived the tour, you know, end of 2013, and when we started to draw the first maps, and we wanted to do even all of Europe, and we said, yeah, we will do transfers, and then no, it's too complicated. And I would never have, so it was all theory, you know, we never did it, so, and then what I'm really amazed about is the positive resonance of the people who host us. At each stopover is like really people are have a very positive attitude and say this is cool, and with the Alternatiba tour we can all together move forwards, and each time the local collectives say what the tour has allowed us is actually it was an opportunity to work with new people, new collectives from other sectors, you know, associations, NGOs, grassroots movement that were locally around and that they have heard about, but they have never did something with them. And they said, and this is really cool. And now, and then, you know, sometimes they went with us from one stopover to the next. So they discovered the others, and they met Strasbourg, Mulhouse, and then, yeah, okay, you from there. And so there's really a kind of connection of all these territories that is created with the tour, and that's really cool. And then the other thing is also the general public. I think in terms of visual strategy, you know, this idea of having these funky multi-seat bicycles and a sound bike and some rap and funk running in the streets, and having that alongside the climate message is really a good formula, actually. And people, especially, you know, like vulnerable people, working class people, they are reacting, you know. And I think this was the big mistake we, the climate movement, did, is that we were too much amongst ourselves with intellectual conferences and handing out flyers, which used the academic language. I think we really have to break it down to the people of the street and find a formula, you know. And yeah, and the other inspiring thing is the team, because it's really hard. So I went from Bayonne to here now. I did some days off since, but I was several times really at the limit of my capacity, where I said, you know, fuck the tour, and it's horrible, you know, it's so crazy. It's like military or something, you know, waking up at the 6 of the morning and everything is timed, you know, and like, wow. And but what is amazing that the people on the team, we stick together and we take care about each other, and we understand that when somebody is stressed out, then okay, take your time, even take a day off, and you know, and this is really good because it shows that you know, with a small team you can really do great things. And in terms of the alternatives, what was a great moment was in Marseille. I don't know if you've heard about it. Well, it was not in terms of alternatives, it was in terms of a very good stopover. It was in Marseille. I don't know if you heard about it. Just some days before we arrived, the mayor of Marseille prohibited the arrival of the tour and the village of alternatives, which was planned to be 3 days after the stopover. So he said, no way, I don't give you permission. So what happened then is that people say, okay, but what we do is legitimate, we need to do it, and just because the mayor of Marseille says we don't have the right, we will not back down, we will still do it, and to do it in a civil disobedient way. And so this was really a special energy, and people came with all sorts of costumes and constructions during the critical mass, and it was really, really huge. And there was a kind of like a performance, you know, at the port, the harbor of Marseille, where people said, okay, if we don't go, if in 2050 we don't go by bike, then we will go by float. Is that where, you know, they will float? So they built a float out of rubbish and they put it into the sea, and then there was music, and this was really a special stopover, and with a special solidarity amongst all those who participated, because you know, you had the police around, you had the CRS around, and so it was quite tense at the moment, but we said, no, but we don't have to back down, because climate change is urgent and we have to act. And in terms of alternatives, there were lots of alternatives. We have many alternatives that were working. I think there were several alternatives which, I mean, for me personally, that were really amazing in terms of, because they were really based on this sharing idea. For example, in Toulouse there was a shared housing community. So these people, you know, it's always the same thing. So they go together, put their money into a community fund, and regardless of their resources, you know, everybody puts into the common fund what he has, and then they started to build their houses in an eco-construction way with eco-material and all that, and you know, with eco-garden and all that. And at the same time, these people are involved in the Alternatiba Toulouse movement, so it's not, you know, this closed gated community, but they implement on their daily basis and in a shared basis with each other their alternative, and at the same time they are participating in street mobilizations, and this was really amazing. There was also a very interesting example in Tunsel, which is just near Freiburg in Germany, in the southwest of Germany, where you have the Gartenkoop, so Gartenkooperative Freiburg, and which is a CSA project, a community-supported agriculture project, and which was also governed by this principle of everybody contributes what he has. They are independent politically, economically, and they grow quite a lot of food, and they are not completely self-sufficient, but nearly, which is amazing. They're about, I don't know, 50 or between 50 and 100, I don't remember exactly. And they also have animals, and they participate regularly. They even animate critical masses and cooperate with a lot of self-run cultural centers of Freiburg. And and these people were also really great, because you know, they implemented their local alternatives to respond to their local needs, food, and but at the same time they are part of this global climate problem and participate in that and bring their part into it, you know. And of course, Climate Express is amazing. Sorry, and this was, I discovered it yesterday, the 123, the 123 in Brussels. David explained to us, you know it? Yeah, it's really, it's great, it's amazing. He said, there are several etages, and so people live there, and then there are guest rooms, and then everything is self-managed in the collective decision-making. All those who live there make the collective decision-making. So this is really applied democracy, direct democracy. And then there are all these workshops happening with knitting and repairing clothings, producing new clothing. Then they have a kitchen, and they have a bicycle workshop. They have a wood workshop, and all kinds of stuff. So you see that there are also active people that are producing, repairing, reusing, recycling, and I think this was also very interesting for Brussels.